Madrega. Most people in previous generations didn't live that way because they didn't feel it could sustain it. In our generation, it became more popular because we're after a Holocaust. The entire Torah, the heart of the Torah world, the soul of the Torah world was destroyed, was incinerated. So you got to rebuild, you know? You got to rebuild, and that's why the Gedolim wanted to rebuild Torah. And I personally believe things will balance out, and they are balancing out. All extremes balance out. They haven't for me yet, but hopefully they'll balance out. Okay, so now, if this is the case, and this is the reality of mankind, that's our job. Says the Bnei Yissaschar, all of this is explicitly in the Torah. It's not just in the Zohar, and it's not just in philosophy books. It's in the Torah itself, printed psukim. This Hazayin Amamim Shahayu Be'eretz Yisrael Shetziva Hashem Yisparah L'Hachrisa Shmam, that we're supposed to destroy them. Hem Hayu Neged Hazayin Midos Shebeklipa. Explicit. What we said last week is explicit. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Shechivanu. And then he goes on to say, V'kibalti Sidran V'horas Shemosehem Mipeh Kadosh Kvod Admor Harav HaKadosh Pum Mimalo Ravavim, the great teacher, the great speaker, Botzina Denora, the fiery personality filled with light, otherwise known as Kvod Kocho Moreno Rav Yaacov Yitzchak Halevi Milublin, otherwise known as the Choza, the seer of Lublin. And he said, this is the order. But remember, he uses the order in Devarim. Number one, he says, is the Kanani, which is against Chesed. Why is Kanani against Chesed? This Chesed of the Klipa, because it's the language of Hachna'ah, surrender. Surrender. Because Chesed means to give in to somebody, to mevater, okay, like Avram gave in to Ephraim. Okay, I'll give you millions of dollars. Yeah, fine. Mevater. So I'll say for last night in the name of Chaim Kanievsky about Shalom Bayis. And he says, the big problem today is nobody wants to be mevater. Nobody wants to give in. They were insulted, they were hurt, you gotta be mevater. He says, that's the hardest thing today. And he says, the men have to work on it. It's not so much the women's issues, it's the men's issues. They have to not be insulted, not be hurt, not be sensitive, not take anything personally. A guy's not supposed to take anything personally. Not supposed to be that sensitive. You don't have to be a Marlboro man, let it roll off your back, shrug it off, move on. So the chesed shebeklipa is Kanaan, Lashon Hachna'ah, giving in. But in Chiti, he says, Neged Gvura, Milashon Chitas Elokim. Chitas Elokim. It means a sense of fear. Emori is against Tiferes Shebeklipa. Ki Emori is Hisparus. Splendor. It's, as it says in Devarim Chavav, Hashem he'emarta, Hashem he'emircha. Hashem was mitpa'er you. That's what he says. Prizi is against Netzach. Interesting. Why is Prizi against Netzach? Because Prizi means bli pachad, without fear. The Prizi means an unwalled city. If you don't build walls, you're not afraid. By the way, they want to cut off 3 slices of Yerushalayim and give it to the Arabs. Why? Because it's behind a wall. That's completely antagonistic to Torah thinking. If you have to build a wall and you're hiding behind a wall, that's your weakness. That's weakness. That's not power. You don't need a wall. If you believe in Hashem, you don't need a wall. We can't control them. We have to put them behind a wall. We can't control them, really. With Hashem's help, you can. Hachivi neged hod shebeklipa milashon chivya. Chivi is a language of a snake. And finally, Why? Because the fifth, which is Hod, listen to this, is what I was referring to earlier. Number 5 of the Midos corresponds to which millennium? The 5th millennium, right? Which is the worst millennium, because that's 240 to 1240, in which there absolutely is no traction to Jewish life in Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael. We're basically out of here. We're in the depths of Galus. Even Bavel was not so far away, and we came back. Yeah, but once we got to Galus Edom, forget about it. Jews are scattered to the 4 corners of the world, and no real life here. As he says, Kineged Hod Shebeklipam Lashon Chivya, a snake. The snake is the most dangerous and poisonous of animals. Kigam HaKedusha, Ikar HaChurban, Gam BeKedusha, Ikar HaChurban, V'Hatzaros Hem Be'elaf HaChamishi. The main Churban of Klal Yisrael is only up until the year 1240. From 1240, we are beginning already to come back. V'Hodi Nehafach Alai Lemashchis. Hodi, meaning Hod, according to the Pasuk in Daniel Daf Yud, became the utter destruction. That was our worst area. And even in that time, we had at the end Rashi and Ramban, and we had the Gaonim. We had the beginnings of the Ashkenazic community, Rami Rottenberg. You had beginnings, but not what came after. And Kol Hayom Dava, and Eicha Aleph Gimel. So he explains that that's really the toughest time. And by the way, it's connected Aaron HaKohen, because Aaron is the one who brings kapara. That was our real kapara, where we really needed to really suffer, and we really needed to be good to each other to survive that time. Now, Yevusi is Kineged Yesod Shebeklipa, Milashon Tavus Nofes, Pasuk Mishlei Chav Zayin Zayin. It means Yevus means to be dorech. The Lashon Yevus Tzarenu. It means to be crushed under. And that alludes to Midat HaYesod, V'Amevin Yavin. And the last one is Girgashi, which is from Mishnei Lamed. Girgashi is Kineged Malchus Shebeklipa, Kamosh Amar Azal, V'Atam Moshel Bakol, which is the pasuk that we say when you give tzedakah in the middle of, when you in Vayivarach David in Shachris, you're supposed to give Atam Moshel Bakol. That's Malchus. Because why? Afilu reish gargusna mina shemayim mukmile. It's one brachos. Nobody gets any authority except from Hashem. In other words, any position of malchus, even the water carriers, who's in charge of the water, those are appointed by Shemayim. So that all is the Bnei Yissaschar quoting the Choseh. Quoted in as I said, in Bnei Yissaschar in Teves, Dalet Ayin Tet, and it's quoted here in the sefer called Agra Dekala in Parshas Lech Lecha. But I was thinking we could understand that in terms of the work that a person has to do to uproot their personal midos. Okay, these are personal midos. Why? Because in Devarim we're preparing Klal Yisrael to go into Eretz Yisrael. First thing we got to do is defeat the 7 Amamim within ourselves. So on that, there may be a somewhat different order, right? How a person rectifies their midos may not be in that specific order. But in terms of the actual conquest of Eretz Yisrael, in stages, had a time dimension that was sequential. And that's what Bris Ben Abasarim was. That's why Avram had to take out the power of the Chivi over actual Eretz Yisrael. Whereas what we're talking about in Devarim is preparing the individual Jew to be Ra'ui to go into Eretz Yisrael. Now I'm just going to add this point. Really, as we said earlier, there are our rivals for Eretz Yisrael are from our mishpacha, right? Lot, Lavan, Esav, Yishmael. Those people failed because they couldn't do this They couldn't eradicate the 7 amamim within themselves. Yishmael's Mila was not a complete Mila. In fact, the Gemara says that they are how shall I say? They're most consumed with lust of any of the peoples. 1 second, these are the guys with the bris Mila, and they cover everybody with the burqas? Yeah. Did everybody see my wife's story in H.com? Go on to H.com and look for my wife Chani wrote a piece about how their tefillos work to save a victim of terror's life. It's a whole story. Go on to H.com.
They have the highest rate of HIV as well.
Really?
Yeah, my social worker
Yeah, listen, they're not stupid. They have very tight control over the women because if they didn't, Veyazmir. And that's why they have these killings, that if somebody goes, they kill them. Why do they kill them? Killing you only do when you need an ultimate deterrent, right? The death penalties, because people have to sitter and know they're going to get killed. Because they're essentially shtufei zima. That's the opposite. If they really were balei bris, they wouldn't have those issues. They wouldn't have those issues. A Jew is rachmanim, baishanim, gomli chasadim. We have a sense of tznius. Essentially, in our generation, there's all this cross-infection going on. But essentially, a Yid is a modest person, a modest person. We have modesty as our character. The Rabbi said Friday night, interesting, Rabbi Shapiro said that they used to find the kids after the Holocaust by going into the convents and seeing which kids cut up their food before eating it, that they ate in a modest way, like sandwiches. He says, how can you eat a falafel? By the way, sandwiches, you know where sandwiches come from? The Earl of Sandwich? The Earl of Sandwich, he was English, right? He was too busy gambling to stop for a meal. He didn't want to leave the gambling table. He loved money so much, he didn't have time to eat. I could play another hand of poker. So he figured out to eat sandwiches. A sandwich is not ultimately a Jewish food. Not a Jewish food. We learned it from their other cultures. Why did he say it? It's an interesting thing, because it's bizu. Well, this is what the Rabbi said. Because it's bizu ochlin. He says you put the bread in your mouth and you take it out. You never want to take bread out of your mouth. That's not a good simon. You want to put it in your mouth. So take a little bit. Take a little bit. Better to take a little bit at a time and put it in your mouth. Take a pita and break it up as you go and eat it. That's the Jewish way. So when the kids ate that way, they went into the convent and said, that's a Jewish kid, and they pulled him out. That's how a Jewish kid eats. Because there's an internal sense of tznius that we inherited from our avos. It's genetic. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, as the Chose explained here, had to coach Klal Yisrael. The whole Sefer Devarim is all about that. Get ready. You have a job to do. And if you're not conquering all these midos yourselves, you can look at the whole Sefer Devarim, according to the Ramban, according to many Rishonim, is just a workshop to prepare for getting to Eretz Yisrael. It was like it was a training. Corporate training, lahavdil. Moshe says, listen, guys, you got a job to do, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do it. And these are the mitzvahs that you're going to have to do, and this is how you're going to have to perfect yourselves. Now, because then you're going to go and you're going to be fighting the actual Sheva Amamim. Sheva Amamim in Eretz Yisrael, that's a different dynamic. Because it's linked to time and space. Because in the world, in Kabbalah, we speak about 3 realities. Olam, Shana, Nefesh. There's space, there's time, and then there's the spirit that does connect to the world. So when everything in the book of Devarim was talking about preparing to enter the world of Shana and space and build. Eventually they would find Yerushalayim and they would find Har HaBayis and they would be able to do everything. Now, all of this is a segue to Yaakov the time traveler. Oh, we don't have time to learn it. Ay. Okay, so I guess we have to rename the shir. Okay, we'll have to rename the shir. It's an introduction. This is the introduction to Yaakov the time traveler. Now you understand what happened here. Yaakov was one of the avos who had to translate all the midos into the reality of time and space, which means that he had to be able to manipulate. He had to understand that time and space are really not real. They're a test. They're a test. But behind time and space is Hashem's reality. And I'll just leave you with this thought, at least if you want to stay 5 more minutes, because I'm not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so we'll just finish the thought. Maybe we'll finish the thought?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So if the Bnei Yissaschar taught us how to erase the 7 Amamim within us so we can own Eretz Yisrael, Yaakov was the first one of the Avos who actually implemented it. According to the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh, he was the first real owner of Klal Yisrael in his lifetime. Because in Yaacov Avinu's lifetime, the Sheva Amim were in control. In Yitzchak's lifetime, the Sheva Amim were in control. However, in Yaakov's lifetime, there was already a war that, for example, they conquered the city of Shem and rooted out those who had violated Dinah. Get it? They were implementing, and they say, Hakazona Yasa, we're now owners of Eretz Yisrael, and therefore we have to implement the moral law. And that's why there were so many problems with Yosef and his brothers, because the question was whether they were already holding on that level and they could implement Torah in Eretz Yisrael, or as Yosef was telling them, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to have to go through an entirely different process here until we are really ready. But Yaacov Avinu was an owner of Eretz Yisrael proper in his lifetime, meaning he was responsible for Eretz Yisrael, and therefore he needed the keys to Eretz Yisrael. Where are the keys to Eretz Yisrael? Well, let's go to Yaakov's dream. I'm sorry I can't say all this inside. I'm just going to say it outside very quickly. Where was the ladder of Yaacov Avinu? Where did it originate? The ladder that speaks about the 4 Goliot, right? He saw the Malachim Olim v'Yordim Bo. The Malach of Bavel, the first Golos, goes up and down, right? Of Paras and Madai goes up and down. Yavan, up and down. Edom doesn't go down. Doesn't go down. Yaakov, in his lifetime, had to confront Esav in Eretz Yisrael and eventually get Esav to leave Eretz Yisrael, which he does. He does. Before Yaakov goes down to Mitzrayim, Esav has already vacated Eretz Yisrael to Har Seir because he does not want to suffer the slavery of Mitzrayim. So this is Yaakov's job. He's got to survive the Galus and come back to Eretz Yisrael and reestablish us in the from the Galus here. Well, that means that he's got to touch the 2 primary points of Kedusha, of Malchus, right? Where were they? What are they? The Mishkan and the Beit HaMikdash, right? And specifically, what's the specific point of control? The connection between the time and space reality of this world and the next world, and Hashem's world. Har Moriah. And where specifically in Har Moriah? Which one place? It has a name. The Even Shesiah, the rock, which is the point of contact between this world. You ever saw that, the Da Vinci, Lahavdil?
Yeah.
That's the real point of contact, according to Ramchal, is the Even Shesiah. In a very, very real way. The above Beis HaMikdash corresponds to that place. And all of Hashem's goodness and his sustenance of this world and life-giving energy flows down to that point, and from that point is distributed outward. The only problem now is that because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, that's all messed up, and the 70 nations are receiving it before we get it. And that's why we have our hands held out to, America and all these other countries, because they're getting the Shefa right now because there's no way to receive it, because there's no Beis HaMikdash. So it's actually hitting and splashing all over the place. If we can hold it, we'll be able to direct it, channel it, distribute it properly. That's what's coming. Yaakov has to have an experience with the Even Shesiah, because that's the future. That's where time and space will come into contact with a world that is not limited by time and space. Okay? That is the point in which everything connects. So what happens to Yaakov? His Sulam starts where? And I promise we're going to end in 2 minutes. The Sulam starts where? In Beersheba, the base of Eretz Yisrael. That's, for all intents and purposes, the end of Eretz Yisrael. So the Sulam starts there, because that's the bottom of Yehuda, the bottom of the land of Yehuda. Yehuda goes from Yerushalayim in the north to Beersheba in the south. All of that is Yehuda. The ladder starts at the base of Yehuda, Yehuda's Malchus. It goes to the midpoint of Yehuda, which is Har HaMoriah. But it doesn't stop there. Where does it continue? It continues upward into past the land of Binyamin, past that sign where they have the wolf standing there on the highway, all the way up until Beit El, which is close to Har Grizim and Har Eval, the place where the Mishkan stood, Mishkan Shiloh. And why doesn't it go further? Because that's not the point. Yaakov needed to understand that his ability to govern Eretz Yisrael, and through Eretz Yisrael, really the whole world, was from the 2 points of contact, the Mishkan and the Beit HaMikdash. Now, what's very interesting is, look at his journey. What happened according to Rashi? He picks up he starts the journey from Beersheba, and where does he end up in a millisecond? Above time and above space? He's in Haram. He takes one step, and he's in the time transporter, what do they call it? This is like Star Trek, Lahavdil. The time tunnel, or whatever. Next step, and he finds himself in Haran, and he turns around and goes, "Wow, I'm here already. I didn't stop and daven in Yerushalayim." So he starts walking back, and he walks all the way back to where Mishkan Shiloh would be in Beit El. And what happens then? Land transport. Har HaMoriah somehow picks itself up and is teletransported to where the Mishkan would be. And that's where Yaakov sleeps. And that's why the sun sets time, right? Again, above the sun sets in the middle of the day. Why? Because Hashem said so. Because time really isn't what you think it is. And Yoshua, on the way back into Eretz Yisrael, is going to get the sun to stand up. It's not what you think it is. It's not as firm a jail, a prison, as you think. And by all the big tzaddikim, there is no time and space. They're l'malam and amakam and azman. They're here and there and all over. I heard a story from one of my chavrusas that one of the big rebbes used to come to Eretz Yisrael every Friday for a visit. And then go back home. And one Shabbos he brought his gabbai and he forgot to bring him back. He had to go back Motzei Shabbos to pick him up and take him back. And they have records, like the guy was saying, "Yeah, I was here for Shabbos. It was really great." We'll go more into that. But the big tzaddikim, they're right there on that cusp. So yeah, we can't really understand. Baal Shem Tov, they said a lot of stories about that, about him all of a sudden being in one place or the other. So Yaakov sleeps on the rock, says the Aruch HaKadosh, the Evan Shasiya. The Evan Shasiya itself relocated all the way up to the border. Now, on the deeper level, Yaakov has to bring together 2 worlds, Leah's world and Rachel's world, because Esav is out, and he's got to take care of that world. So he needs both the tribe of Yosef and he needs the tribe of Yehuda. Hence, his ladder bridges from the base of Yehuda all the way to the most central part of Ephraim, with Binyamin in the middle. Binyamin is the area that connects. Binyamin connects to Ephraim, and the upper Binyamin connects to Ephraim. The lower Binyamin is the Beis HaMikdash, which connects to Yehuda, and it's like 3 links in a chain. And that was his dream. And he was teletransported through all of this. Why? Hashem needs to do this? Let him get on a bus and go to Haran. No, because you are the true one. You have the midos. Your children will have the midos. Your bechir shabavos. We're going to follow through your children. You're the ones going to conquer this place. If you're going to conquer this place, you have to understand what this place is all about. This is the place where this world connects to the next. And if you want to be worthy and on that level, and Hashem said, "I promise you, I'm going to be with you this entire place." And what does Yaacov Avinu do in the end? And with this we'll conclude. He takes up that stone, the Evan Shasi, and what does he do to it? Pours oil on it. And he says, this is going to be Beit Elokim. This will be the Beit HaMikdash. He got it. He said, this is what's going to be. And some say that oil, where did he get that oil from? What kind of oil? That oil is the same oil, the oil of the Pach Shemen of Hanukkah. He went back for Pachim Ketana, meaning he, in a spiritual sense, set the foundation for the idea that Jews can come in and reestablish the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, and that's the Nes of Hanukkah. Take it away from the hands of the Greeks, take it away and reestablish the Kedusha of it. So he was told, don't worry, it's not a one-time shot. You're going to come in, you're going to conquer the land, and you're going to go to Golus, but you're going to come back and you'll have the power, the Shemen of Hanukkah, to bring Kedusha. Mitzvah Shem, that's what we're hoping for. And wish everybody a good Chodesh Kislev.